All set. I'd like to welcome everybody to the regularly scheduled second meeting for the month of September. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Please remain standing for pastor.
Father God, we just bless you and thank you for all the blessings upon our community. I pray that God, our conversations would be courteous to each other, and Lord, that decisions to be made would be for the betterment of our community. Bless our board and thank you for their diligence and wisdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thank you.
Make a motion to open the public hearing on a local law regarding tax exemptions for members, volunteer fire companies or volunteer ambulance services.
Second. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. If anyone has any comments to make at this time concerning the tax exemptions for members of volunteer services, now's your opportunity to speak. I want to mention one thing, and we're going to mention this in the next few meetings. We've had some comments made relative to the fact that there's no longer an opportunity to make comments via the Zoom platform. And the reason that was done, once again, is because of the term that's used as Zoom bombing. For those not familiar with it, we have had people that have hacked into the system. We've had crude vulgarity, and that is to understate. And we made a determination that for the residents of the town, for the employees of the town, and for the board members, it's absolutely inappropriate to have that go on. We checked with our IT provider. The IT provider advised that the only way we could address that situation was to have a Zoom presence where residents can watch the meeting live, or they can watch it recorded later on. But if we open it up so anyone can make comment on there, you also open it up to the potential that we could get hacked in. So I just want to make that clear so everybody understands. That's the reason. It's not to try to shut down public comment, not at all. It's to prevent what had been going on, which is just unacceptable. So if anyone has any comments on the tax exemption law that we proposed for the emergency services, now's your opportunity to speak.
Make a motion to close the public hearing regarding local law tax exemption for members of volunteer fire companies or volunteer ambulance services.
I will second that.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Make a motion for the approval of minutes for the town board meeting on Thursday, September 14th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
Aye. Supervisory report, this is for the month of August. Revenues, general fund, $30,653.65. Highway fund, $39,062.99. Sewer district number 1, $7.51. Sewer district number 2, $507.72. Sewer district number 3, $1,062.63. Total revenues, $71,294.50. Disbursements, general fund, $180,892.45. Highway fund, $92,700.45. Lighting district number 1, $211.55. Lighting district number 2, $406.17. Lighting district number 3, $186.16. Sewer district number 1, $12,248.47. Sewer district number 2, $10,967. Sewer District number 3, $5,215.94. Total disbursements, $302,828.19.
Payment of claims. See, general fund A, $10,150.59. General OVP, $986.14. Highway Fund DA, $4,945.13. Highway OVDB, $7,325.47. Fire protection, $6,214.03. Planning board, $1,499.43. Sewer district number 1, $6,995.54. Sewer district number 2, $3,818.91. Sewer district number 3, $1,911.06. Total transfers, $43,846.30. No transfer needed from fire. So that was $6,214.03. So it's actually $37,632.27.
A second.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, committee reports, Bill, what do you have for us?
The crew was able to finish the emergency repair on Devlin Road, everything's buttoned up, paved, so. Walking away from that for the winter. Sent them out this week to fill the patches that we tore up last winter. We're about halfway through doing that. Mowing tractors back together, probably start mowing again Monday. Given the weather, so. Plow frames are back on the truck for anybody who wants to know the winter's coming. So, we're as ready as we can be, short of getting the guys out there practicing, so.
I meant to ask you, what the status of the dump trailer was.
Sit there,
Okay.
yeah, I haven't had a chance to get it down to the,
Oh, I knew you
The
were
welding
short.
shop
I didn't
there.
know if you had the opportunity to
Yeah.
do any more.
no, we didn't need any bulk material this year, so.
Okay.
We can fiddle away with it this winter and get it back. Next year we will need it, so
All right,
that is it.
Diane, you got anything for us on public safety?
I do. I talked to Sergeant Val regarding the training that occurred at the Waynesburg High School on September 16th and 17th. He said it went well, and it was good to have everyone be a part of everything. Also, on a side note, as of right now, DVAC is planning on having a sit-down turkey dinner on Friday, October 27th, which is probably the first in many, 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 many years that we've had a sit-down dinner. So that's kind of exciting. So as long as everything goes well, the community will be welcome to come and sit and eat together for turkey dinner on October 27th, which is exciting news.
Good. Okay. Parks, not really much to report. We tentatively have a meeting next week. That may wind up being put off. Because there's a couple of items that need to have some more attention given to them before we progress, but we are in the process of obtaining quotes to have the tennis courts rebuilt at Schaefer Park, and if that is done, that will be done to have it half tennis court and the other half will be a pickleball court. We're getting numbers on that. And as we're going to talk in a little while, we've got a resolution coming up tonight, which down the road is going to provide us the avenue to pay for that without having to use any tax revenues. We'll discuss that a little bit later on when we get to that resolution. Got anything for us on sewer?
No, not really. I now have 2 quotes for a brand new snowplow, waiting on the 3rd required quote. So hopefully next time we meet, we'll have all 3. And we can pick out a new snowplow. But that's it.
Okay, good. Jen, Bill Brown doesn't call in, does it? Okay, we may have to look into that to see if there's a way we want to do that. We have access to him. So we can put on sewer. Mike, you got anything on that?
Nothing tonight.
Okay, the only thing I have, we did have a discussion with Charter Spectrum with regard to the connection of the remaining homes that just don't have broadband connection yet. We're down in the 20s now for the number of homes in the town. And as the past several discussions have gone with them, the dollar amount is just unacceptable. We're not going to get there. Each time we've discussed with them, the numbers have come down a little bit lower. I don't want to use this term, but I will. It's essentially a war of attrition. So we're going to continue to work with them, and ultimately we hope prevail with a number that's going to make sense. Before we go to the business meeting, I'd like to welcome Morgan. We have a young lady here who is from a high school class, and I can remember a long time ago when I had to come in and sit through a meeting like that. So we'll try to keep this upbeat a little bit so you don't fall asleep.
I have something.
What you got?
So I wanted to say this out loud so we have it on record that this past week, I had a conversation with Alan Knight and Joe Flores about two issues that they had concerns with about the Duane Lake. So one was something to do with their septic systems and wanting to see if we could do something about any type of inspections, et cetera. And another was about the outlet canal and some issues they were having there. So I explained to them that we would have a discussion and talk about what was going on. And I see that they're here tonight. So maybe when there's a option for public comment, they
Well,
will. make a
privilege of the
comment.
floor, we'll
Yep.
have an opportunity to discuss.
Absolutely.
Certainly.
So I just want to make sure I said that out loud for everyone.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Thank you. All right, on to the business meeting.
Are you gonna go? You want me to-
Doesn't matter. I can go.
Okay, go ahead.
Motion to set a public hearing for the purpose of hearing all persons interested in the matter of the assessment roll for the Duanesburg, Lansing Sewer District Number 1, the Maryville Lake Sewer District Number 2, and Duanesburg Sewer District Number 3, whereas the assessor of the town of Duanesburg has completed and filed the assessment roll for the Duanesburg, the Lansing Sewer District Number 1, the Maryville Lake Sewer District Number 2, and the Duanesburg Sewer District Number 3, parentheses, are all pursuant to Article 15 of the New York State Town Law. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Town Law number 239, the town board shall meet and hold a public hearing on October 12th, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the town of Duanesburg Town Hall, 5853 Western Turnpike, Duanesburg, New York, to hear and consider any objections which may be made to the roll, parentheses, the public hearing, and be it further resolved that the town board directs the town clerk to publish the notice of public hearing attached to herein in the Schenectady Daily Gazette to appear once, not less than 10 days, 10 and no more than 20 days before the date of the public hearing, and be it further resolved that the town board directs the town clerk to cause the letter notice of public hearing also attached here to be mailed to each property owner not less than 10 and no more than 20 days before the date of the public hearing, and be it further resolved that the town board directs the town clerk to cause a copy of the notice of public hearing to be posted on the signboard of the town of Duanesburg and the town of Duanesburg website not less than 10 and no more than 20 days before the date of the public hearing.
I will second that.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Motion to approve the amended town procurement policy. Whereas the town of Duanesburg requires the ongoing purchase of equipment and services for the provision of quality services to its residents. And whereas the New York State General Municipal Law, GML, authorizes municipalities to use contracts from other federal, state, or county agencies that authorize piggybacking and or are based on best value as a more flexible means of procurement. And whereas the attached town procurement policy has been revised to authorize the use of piggybacking and use of best value to use contract bids by other agencies as provided in GML section 103 parentheses 16, and whereas the town board also is updating the procurement policy to insert the name of the new deputy town clerk. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board approves and amends the town's procurement policy, and the amended copy is attached here too.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Clerk call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Motion to authorize the purchase of a snow removal vehicle and equipment. We're gonna read all
Does that whole thing gotta be read?
this?
This is a bond resolution, so it's required to be written in with this specificity. And John Vaginellis, the town bond counsel, drafted it. No, you don't have to read it if you don't want to, but generally we do.
So, I don't know. I don't know if anybody wants me to read it.
If I may, it authorizes the expenditure of, it authorizes the borrowing and expenditure of $344,770, which goes with the bid that Bill obtained, which is part of this piggybacking bid. The name of the county, I believe, is Onondaga. And it was all bid out through Onondaga County. And I'm gonna let Bill describe the kind of truck it is, because I will mess that up for sure. But this authorizes, through this bond resolution, the borrowing of the money to purchase the snow truck, which has been identified as necessary for the town. And what will happen once this bond resolution, if it's approved, then the next thing that will happen is the order, if you will, for this plow truck will be put in. And that really represents a contract to purchase. So we had to make sure that we had the funds first before the ability to borrow the funds first before we could authorize the ordering of the equipment. Okay. So if that's clear to everybody and you've all read this ahead of time, I would say that you can approve it without reading it into the record if you wish. It's very, I don't know the word for it, but it's very, it's long and it has lots of references to the New York State finance law, which allows you as a town board to do this. Now, we haven't done this in a long time. I think the last bond resolution was for the sewers, sewer improvements. I think Bill did the last bond resolution was 2016, something like that.
Yeah.
I forget what that was
Just
for
in the back, yeah.
the highway equipment. Yeah. Do you want to describe the truck for everybody?
Well, by the time we got it, it's gonna be a 2025 model HV 513s, international harvester or international. Onondaga County is one of the only counties that specs all-wheel drive double wings plow trucks. Generally, we would piggyback from the OGS state. Other than that, Viking equipment coming on it. It's also Onondaga County specs. Total cost is $344,777. So not your average pickup truck.
Yeah, it's replacing an existing vehicle, which I know, without getting into all the details, wasn't really spec'd properly when it was originally purchased. It's compromised, and so it's going to be a big step in the right direction. Unfortunately, the numbers that we see on these, as everyone knows, capital goods have taken a dramatic increase over the past 3 or 4 years. And there just isn't anything we can really do other than move forward with that, because the alternative is you have roads that aren't going to be maintained.
Think everybody find that summary acceptable?
Yes.
Might just also point out, we, there was investigation into used equipment. And we found that the availability was limited and the prices weren't that far below buying new currently.
The bonding period would be a 5-year bond and the expected life of the truck would be 15 years. And let's hope that your new mechanic maintenance guy over there, we can bring it beyond that point.
Yep.
Okay,
I'll second.
any other discussion? You all set? Clerk call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Who made the motion?
I made the motion.
Andy, thank you.
Yep. Motion to set a public benefit fee of $1,000 per megawatt of the rated design capacity of the utility scale solar energy system. Whereas the town board of the town of Dwaynesburg adopted local law number 1 of 2023 regulating solar facilities. Whereas the local law provided in section 7(3)(e) that the applicant shall enter into a community host agreement providing a public benefit fee to mitigate the additional burdens placed on the town as a result of the project. The fee shall be utilized as a source of funding for prospective costs and expenses associated with related to anticipated municipal services and additional infrastructure improvements to be provided as a result of the project's presence within the town. The fee shall be an amount established by resolution of the town board. And whereas the town board finds that the prospective costs and expenses are best predicted by the size of the facility and has determined that a public benefit fee of $1,000 per megawatt will be sufficient to defray those costs and expenses and are consistent with fees that are commonly charged by municipalities. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby requires a public benefit fee of $1,000 per megawatt of the rated design capacity of the utility scale solar energy system as the town board was authorized to require pursuant to local law number 1 of 2023. Such fee shall be paid pursuant to the terms of a duly approved community host agreement.
I'll second that.
Discussion on this, we do have applications before the planning board for some additional solar facilities within the town. At the time, we had put together a committee to draft the new solar facilities law 2 years ago. One of the things that we had found was that this is quite common with other municipalities, that they assess a fee. And in many cases, these funds become a green space fee. They're used to make improvements in parks and what have you. So for the burden that it places on the town with having to work with these outfits, inspections, other related costs, if we have these fees available to us, some additional money for green space fees, we thought that would be appropriate and a good move on our behalf. Clerk call roll, please.
Councilmember Lux.
Aye.
Councilmember Santina.
Aye.
Councilmember Potter.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
President.
Aye.
Motion to adopt local law 2 of 2023 entitled "The Local Law Regarding Tax Exemptions for Members of Volunteer Fire Companies or Volunteer Ambulance Services." Whereas the town board of the town of Dwaynesburg is considering the adoption of a local law to adjust taxation for certain volunteer firemen, and volunteer ambulance personnel as set forth in the proposed draft local law number 2 of 2023. Whereas local law number 2 of 2023 is attached hereto and was introduced for the consideration of the town board at its regular meeting of August 10th, 2023. Whereas the proposed local law is consistent with the law adopted by the Schenectady County Legislature for the same purpose. Whereas the town board is the only involved agency with this type 2 action pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA. The adoption of local law regarding implementation of state authorized taxation relief for ambulance and fire volunteers is set forth in the attached local law. Whereas the town board declared itself lead agency pursuant to SEQRA and determined that the consideration and potential adoption of the attached local law is a type 2 action pursuant to SEQRA, and no further SEQRA review is required. And whereas town board accepted the introduction of local law number 2 of the year 2023 and directed the duly noticed public hearing to be held at the September 14th, 2023 regular meeting of the town board, which public hearing was held and continued until the September 28th, 2023 regular meeting of the town board. Whereas the town board has carefully considered the local law and any public comments on the local law, now therefore be it resolved that the town board adopts local law number 2 of 2023, directs that the town clerk file the local law with the New York State Secretary of State's office.
I'll second.
A discussion on this. This was an opportunity that we had made available to us by the state to adopt a law like this. I think everyone's well aware of the fact that difficulty with retaining volunteers in the services, the emergency services, and we felt it was appropriate to show appreciation on behalf of the town as an incentive to bring some more folks into the emergency services. We worked closely with the assessor and with Schenectady County as they developed the law, so that we essentially had something to present to the town attorney to look at, that most of the work had already been provided, done for us. Clerk call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Make a motion to accept the tenant, oh, wrong one, sorry. Motion to authorize the Dwaynesburg Town Board to apply for a grant. Whereas the New York State Office of Court Administration will not accept the application from the town of Dwaynesburg Justice Court for funding from the Justice Court Assistant Program without the adoption of this resolution by the town of Dwaynesburg Town Board. Parentheses, the attached instruction provided by Justice Wren and to the town clerk, and whereas the town board supports the efforts of the town justices to seek a JCAP grant up to $30,000. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board determines that this is a type 2 action under SECRA. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Dwaynesburg authorizes the Dwaynesburg Town Court to apply for a JCAP grant in the 2023 to 2024 grant cycle up to $30,000.
I'll second.
Discussion on this. In the past several years, annually, the Office of Court Administration has provided that towns can apply for a grant. We obtained a grant last year. At that time, that grant money was used for the purchase of the background that you see here in the judge's desk. That was done after the boardroom was moved from upstairs to downstairs. So that didn't cost the town anything. That was all done through the grant. And so I'm not sure the judge has specified what he's going to look for with the grant this year, but he's made application for the grant, and certainly the town board endorses that. Clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Goddard.
Aye.
Councilmember Grant.
Aye.
Councilmember Santos.
Aye.
Councilmember Lott.
Aye.
Supervisor Lund.
Aye.
Motion to accept the tentative 2024 budget as presented. There's no resolution.
I'll second it.
Discussion on this. The Office of the State Comptroller requires that we have the tentative budget presented by the 30th of September. We spent many a long night session together working on this over the past month or so. It is a preliminary budget. It is subject to some minor adjustments. The primary change that we see, as we had discussed at the last meeting, is the fact that the Dwaynesburg ambulance is at a juncture where they will be increasing the number of personnel so that they've got paid coverage 24/7. There are still volunteers involved, but the increase in the budget on that as of right now, and this is preliminary, we're not all done yet. The average house in the town has an assessed value of $60,000. We talked to the assessor. We said, if you have a $60,000 assessed home, how much town tax, and this is the town line on the county bill that comes in January. There's the county taxes, there's the town tax, there's the highway tax, the fire tax. The total implication on the town part of that tax for a $60,000 assessment, round numbers about $70 per residence. That's what we're looking at for our residents. Again, this is a preliminary budget subject to review. We will have one more session to review a couple of minor tweaks, but that looks like where we are at this juncture. The clerk call the roll, please.
Aye.
Councilmember Byer.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, anything else before we go to privilege of the floor? Okay, we'll open up the floor for comment. If you're here, I ask that you please give your name and your address and
Evening.
Evening.
My name is Alan Knight, and I live at 1399 West Wayne Lake Road. Until this past June, I was president of the association, Wayne Lake Association, and the board has asked me to speak tonight on their behalf. Wayne Lake is more accurately described as a reservoir, actually. The Duane Lake Association owns it, its mission being stewardship of the waters of Duane Lake. Half the 62 properties around the shoreline rely on lake water for their household use. The lake is the uppermost headwater of the Watervliet Reservoir, which supplies water to more than 50,000 people, businesses, schools, and medical facilities in both the city of Watervliet and the town of Guilderland. The association is active in monitoring water quality and doing what it can to manage it. There are some things, though, it cannot do, things that are beyond its ability or authority, but things that are within the power of this town board. That's why we're here tonight. To understand this situation in more personal terms, think of it as your own home and yard in this scenario. Your neighbors are good people who try to take care of their property. They make repairs and take care of their yards. They hire a contractor, perhaps, to move some dirt around to make a patio. But then it rains, and the water begins to move in new ways that had not done before, and it washes dirt into your garden. It carries septic effluent into your well. You are not happy. That's our situation at Duane Lake. But our neighbors are you, the town board, and the town highway department. Your well-intentioned efforts, some from as far back as the 1970s, frankly, are screwing up the outflow of the lake water and damaging our dam. And there are some old leaky septic systems around the lake that DEC says are very likely the cause of excess phosphorus and nitrogen, as well as E. coli bacteria found in Duane Lake. Systems that this town board has the power to have corrected. To fix these problems, two of which are town-caused problems, and the other one being a town-allowed problem, we ask you to do three things, probably none of which will cost the town anything, except the time to say yes and to set the work in motion. Number one, amend the rules for the Duane Lake zoning district, please, to require inspection of septic systems upon sale or any other kind of property ownership. We know by the smell that some septic systems are failing. As a matter of public health, we must not allow this effluent to reach the lake. A lengthy public information program for all lake residents explored 4 options for mitigating this effluent. The first one was a municipal sewer system. Number 2 was a town-created lake management district that would require septic system inspection every 5 years, as the case at Otsego Lake over Cooperstown. The third one would be an amendment to the Duane Lake zoning rules that would require septic inspection upon transfer of ownership, as is done at Galway Lake, town of Queensbury, and several other towns. And of course, the fourth option, do nothing. A vote conducted online and via email ballots obtained about 70% participation from all the residents around the lake, which is very, very, very high for such surveys. The community voted strongly against a municipal sewer system and strongly against doing nothing, leaving the other 2 alternatives. So a follow-up vote found the strongest agreement for inspection upon transfer of ownership. The Duane Lake Association has also circulated a petition and collected signatures of the many people who want you to amend the rules for the Duane Lake zoning district to require septic inspection upon transfer of ownership. Number 2, replace the town road culvert through which the Duane Lake flows and drains, preferably replacing it with a bridge. The present culvert installed in the mid-1970s to replace culverts that had been in there since much earlier time was inserted. This new culvert was inserted a foot too high, thus raising the level of lake water a foot too high. And we know this because we've had the Soil and Water Conservation District do elevation surveys to verify this. The culvert is a foot too high and thus is raising the level of the lake a foot higher than it should have been. Replacing, by the way, the old spillway that was determined by New York State to be too high and had knocked down to the lower level. Now the new culvert is back up high again. Resulting overflow of the dam from high water is causing erosion of our dam. A blowout of the dam would be disastrous not only for the lake, but for downstream residents, properties, and ecosystems. And it would be a huge liability for this town board, legal liability. New York State has a program that offers, this is important, New York State has a program that offers 100% reimbursement to towns to replace culverts, either with new culverts or with bridges. Number 3, remove the built-up sediment and vegetation from the outflow canal. Part of the outflow canal is within the legal right-of-way of the town road and is thus a town responsibility. Decades worth of accumulated road sand has raised the bottom of the canal by approximately a foot and fostered the growth of brush and grasses that clog the outflow, contributing to the raising of lake water level. Anything that raises the water level adds to the threat of dam failure. I repeat that, anything that raises the water level like that adds to the threat of dam failure. It is likely the initial cleanout of the canal would have to be done anyway as part of the bridge construction, and so it rolled into that same reimbursable cost. On behalf of the Duane Lake community, the Duane Lake Association respectfully requests the town board and town highway department to undertake these 3 efforts to protect the lake, the dam, public safety, and public health. And I suspect some of my colleagues from the Duane Lake Association will also be speaking to you. I have some copies of my comments I can pass around to you if you'd like. Please. I think there's nothing around here. And
So Alan, I just have a question. Last year I had a call from the county attorney telling me that the county was working with the Duane Lake Association on the septic system issue, as well as the, I think at the time you were thinking about mechanized removal of vegetation from the lake. 2 things that he mentioned to me. So what happened with that effort?
well, you mentioned 2 things. The removing of vegetation actually referred to an association funded project that we paid for ourselves that dredged part of our outlet canal, the part that is beyond the town right of way. So we've already taken care of that ourselves from our own funds. As far as
Just a quick question before you leave that thought, Alan. Did you have a permit from DEC to do
course.
that? Okay,
Yes.
all right, because
Yes.
I don't believe the town ever saw that. So it'd be helpful, unless it's in the packet, to give us that. We appreciate that.
what the town permit?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, not the DEC permit.
That's sorry, I should say that. Yeah, I meant the DEC permit. Yes, we have that. We can provide it to you.
Great, that'd be great.
Didn't realize we had to file it with you, but we can do that.
Well, no, it's informational because this is the first, I've heard of that work going on.
Mm.
So to try to understand all that you're saying about the culvert that's been there since 1970, it would be helpful to see what your professionals filed with DEC so we can understand.
Okay. Of course, there's so many avenues we can go down for detailed discussion, but the other part of what you mentioned are discussions with the county attorney and Schenectady County officials in general. One of you Mr. Santulli was at one of the meetings that we held back in the springtime. Basically, those discussions with Schenectady County devolved into a representation for the 3rd time from Delaware Engineering. Let's have a sewer system. That's where it ended up.
So in fact, you didn't get any practical assistance yet from the
Not
county?
yet. We haven't given up yet. We're still talking with them.
Okay, and what are you hoping they'll do instead of the sewer system?
We are hoping that Schenectady County will enroll in the New York State Septic Replacement Program. It is a statewide program that provides 50% reimbursement to homeowners in selected watersheds like ours who replace their failing septic systems. So far, Schenectady County has declined to enroll because they are told by DEC erroneously that Twin Lake is not eligible. So we've been in lengthy discussions with county officials, Angela Santa Barbara, Neil Breslin, et cetera, trying to get some motion to get DEC to change their mind and say, okay, yeah, you qualify. Because when one reads that law, that program, it sounds like it was written expressly with Dwayne Lake in mind.
Okay, so just then to be kind to the county is trying to be very helpful.
Oh, yes.
And they're being held up at the moment by DEC, basically.
Yes, that's probably good accurate representation,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to understand, because that was the last time I heard anything
Sure.
about the Dwayne Lake issue.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Very helpful, Alan. Thank you
Does
very
anyone
much.
else have some questions like Ms. Blockman did? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
My name's David Elliott. I'm at 1463 West Wing. And I just wanted to chat a little bit more about the culvert, the outlet culvert, and provide a little bit more detail. The dam, as we know, is about 100 years old. There was a spillway system in place. It was breached in the 50s with storm situations, and then the state came in and they installed a spillway that's still there. It's underwater by about a foot and a half. The town, for whatever reason, came in the 70s and installed the culvert that's there, et cetera, and raised the level of the spillway essentially by a foot. It's roughly a foot, 11 point something inches above the level of the spillway. So that changes the elevation of the lake. Now you add all of the silt and snowplow this and several decades of rocks and whatnot tumbling into that culvert, the level of the floor is up about 18 inches above that spillway level that New York State specified to get the lake out of flood problems. There's about 6 inches of silt inside that pipe. The grade on the culvert pipe I'm talking about, the grade on the downhill side of the culvert looks like this. It's been mapped, it's been surveyed, to use a loose term. The Schenectady County Soil and Water folks, conservation folks came out, transits, all that stuff, and we sat out there for a couple of days and shot stuff as far downstream as 400 feet from the culvert. There are parts along the way where we're starting out at a foot and a half high. There are parts of the culvert that are parts of the runoff that are actually higher than that. So the water was stuck and stagnant. That was part of the process to gain DEC approval so that we could go in there at the time and do some scraping to get some movement of water. Fact is, it's still a foot and a half higher than that spillway that's underwater. Yank out that culvert, yank out that roadway, stick a bridge in there, get the levels back where they should be, and the dam stands a good chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Jose Flores. I live in 433W, Dwayne Lake Corner, Dwaynesburg. And I have here about a dozen pictures of the reasons to why we think dirt from the road ends up on the canal. So my approach to bench act, not for everybody, but you can dispose after you've done reviewing it, you can dispose where you please do. And the way I think what's happening, like if you're living next door, and that person keeps pushing dirt towards your property. And then what do you say? What am I gonna do? Years go by, they never cleans up. And if you're your side, sometimes you're gonna ask them to clean it up. You're making a mess, why don't you clean it up? That's what we are here asking you to send your highway department cleaning that trench out. Right now, the trench is overgrown with a really, almost trees growing through it. and is being impaired from draining properly. So if you don't do nothing now, later on, it's gonna be a lot worse. That's my opinion about that. So can take a look at it and then review it between yourselves and whatever decision you make. Let's hope it's for the better. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Chris Miller, I live at 1019 West Dwayne Lake Road. I have been asked to share with you the petitions that our Lake Association members did sign in support of having the septic systems inspected upon transfer of ownership. And just for efficiency's sake, Alan has provided also lists of those that signed. And I also have copies of the petitions here. I will submit now for your reference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Bob Eager, 768 Lawson Road. I need help from Waynesburg. And I've got a zoning infraction with a neighboring property owner. They had a garage built sometime before I purchased the land. Had a hunch that the property line was very, very close to their garage. I've had it surveyed, stakes are in place. I had found out from the township, they had applied for a variance from 40 feet to 20 feet, were denied. Got a building permit, went ahead and built it. It's less than 10 feet. I've talked to Chris. Chris has a drawing from the surveyors. He told me he would talk to the attorney. He in turn told me that he was told not to do anything. I'm looking for, under the zoning ordinance, section 15.4, they're to be notified in writing that they're in a violation.
I will have to defer to, are you familiar with the
Yeah,
circumstances?
familiar with the circumstances. I looked at all the information that was put together. Chris showed it to me. This occurred way more than 10 years ago. We're talking about many, many years ago. And for the town now to seek to bring an action against a property owner for building something which they had a town building permit to do, in my judgment, I'm not sure that that makes a lot of sense. Now, Chris showed me everything he had at the time. We have the one survey by the gentleman here tonight and his surveyor. So when you look at the drawings, and this was a long time ago, it's not clear to me that when the ZBA was looking at it or when the building inspector was looking at it, that the zoning, that the survey matched the survey that we have just been given. But I will say for this to occur and be in place for so many years, it just puts the town in an impossible position to try to enforce about something that happened many, many years ago. In the law, there's a concept called latches. So you're required, if you object to something, to commence a lawsuit within a reasonable period of time. This is years upon years upon years.
I haven't owned the property that long.
No, you purchased the property the way it is currently, correct?
Okay.
Yeah, so,
This could affect me with a resale or subdividing. Their
well,
permit that they filled out said 40 feet setback.
I understand.
Did they do a 40-foot setback?
Sir, all I know is the information that Chris has given me. And, you know, I'm sharing with you the legal advice I gave to Chris and I would give to the town on this.
Why do we have zoning rules and regulations from 2015, zoning ordinance?
Is there a statute of limitations on that?
In my opinion, absolutely, yes.
What, let me ask you this, because
longest-
I can definitely appreciate where you're coming from. What recourse could this gentleman have?
I don't believe he has any recourse at this point. If the facility was built, even if, suppose for a second, that the barn was built on his property, okay? After 10 years, you have a right of adverse possession, right? That didn't happen in this case, okay? But it was built arguably in violation of the zoning limits in place at the time, with a building permit issued by the town, with a CO issued by the town. The longest statute of limitations for an action is 6 years. You know, this happened a long time ago.
So it could have been just a difference in the surveys.
Absolutely.
She's had it surveyed, I've had it surveyed. Both surveyors are in agreement where the property line is.
We have not seen a survey that was done by the other property owner. I've not seen that.
I don't think that really has anything to do with a zoning infraction. They filled out a building permit saying they would be 40 feet from the property line. Asked for a variance and were denied. That's record within this township. They
That's
were
right.
denied, so they knew what the rules and regulations were. Went ahead and did what they wanted to anyway. So we're standing here now and saying, it's all right to go ahead and do what you want to do.
No,
Because we're not gonna do anything.
We're not saying that at all. We're saying if there's a problem that wasn't discovered for years upon years, that the town is limited in what it can do. The
I've only had
town,
ownership for 6 years. I didn't know of a problem before that.
well, before you buy property, you're supposed to investigate issues. That's the way it is in New York State.
I took an eyesore in this township and purchased it tax foreclosure auction. And I've cleaned it up to where it's a place that I think everybody would come out and look at and be proud to see now. And I've brought to your attention an issue that I believe has slipped through the cracks, and I'm looking for help in getting it resolved, cleaned up.
If you're asking me if I think the town can force the owner of the barn to tear it down and move it, I do not think we have the authority to do that. Not at this point.
What if you gave them a variance and gave me the same variance?
If you want a variance, sir, come into the zoning board of appeals.
No, they need to get a variance. They're in violation.
I think we've taken this as far as we can. Any property owner has a right to come in and.
So I need to get an attorney. And what you first stated, I need to get an attorney.
You
want me to get an attorney, I'll get an attorney.
To
It's a
get,
shame we have to go that way when I've asked and given you the facts and showing you wrongdoing.
well, I think if you hire an attorney to look at this, he will give you the same advice that I've just given.
And your advice is do nothing.
My,
Let a wrong be wrong.
my advice is that the law provides that issues are closed over time. Doesn't matter what it is.
Can you show me or tell me where I find that law?
I would be happy to send you the information regarding statute of limitations and latches. Happy to do that. If you want to give me your email address, I can email it to you.
I'd appreciate that, please.
Sure. Do you want to tell me?
GREAGER@verizon.net.
All right, will do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
I would like to speak.
Yes, ma'am.
Kathleen O'Brien, and I live at 1424 West Wayne Lake Road. I do not live on the lake, I live across from it. I really believe that the replacement of the town road culvert is really critical for our lake. I believe, especially with 100% a program that offers 100% reimbursement to towns, to have that work done, along with rolling in the cleaning of the areas that need to be done. This it seems like a no-brainer to me that we should be able to take care of our community. And I ask that you all seriously look at that and really work with us to remedy some of the issues that were caused by the best intentions of the town highway department or whatever. Having those things done as well as applying for the funds so that it will cost 100% reimbursement and we get, you know, a better situation. I do, because I live across from the lake, I do, however, have a variance to get water from the lake. So, you know, I'm 61, I'm one more person because I live across from the lake, but you use lake water for my home. And I do everything I can because my house is on a slant to make sure that I'm taking care of my property, to make sure that that lake stays healthy and well. There's a land that at the base of the hill, and I regularly have that cleaned out so that, you know, the water can flow correctly and not impacted by weeds, because it hardly gets cleaned by the town once in a while. But I make sure I do the extra work, and I'm asking respectfully that the town read this letter, listen to what we have to say, and follow up with all three things that are recommended. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to ask about with his property. I had a garage put up and I had a permit. And after I got it put up, they came and inspected it. Did anybody go and inspect his property that his neighbor had the garage or the barn put up
Yes.
and see that it wasn't right?
No, the building inspector inspected it and issued a certificate of occupancy. At the
So
time.
why would he do that if the variance was denied?
Because I believe the map that he was looking at showed it meeting the variance. The drawing that the building inspector had in front of him, and feel free to talk to Chris Parslow directly about this. But the drawing they had in front of them showed that it had been moved the appropriate number of feet.
Can I get a copy of that drawing?
Sure, it's all open. You can come in and look at it from Chris.
All right.
Anyone else like to speak?
Can I ask Alan one more question?
Sure.
Alan, you mentioned this reimbursement program.
Yes.
Did you provide that information in the letter?
I have not provided the details of it. I looked it up and then I called the contracting companies that does the work to ask if the program was still in effect. I said, yes, indeed, they're still doing the jobs for under that program.
Okay, can you email me that information?
yes.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yes, sir.
I'm Ken Pearsall. I'm also a resident of Duane Lake at 997 West Duane Lake Road. What Alan has described about the impact of elevated water levels on the dam is critical, but it's not the only impact of elevated water levels. There are a number of homes that have lost shoreline, that have shoreline erosion. I've lost 5 feet in the 30 years that I've lived in my house. Trees get undermined by the elevated water levels, and there are plenty of trees that are leaning or have actually fallen into the lake as a result of the elevated water levels. So there's more consequence than just the dam.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? We've got one more try if anybody'd like to speak before we close the privilege of the floor.
I'd like to just say thank you for listening to us and doing. Thank you.
You're welcome. We're like to have folks come in when they have concerns. That's what we're here for.
Motion to close the open privilege of the floor.
I'll second.
Okay, and we want to
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that one.
Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. Everybody have a good week.